We have 3 minutes each to answer the questions I have for you this particular evening. And if you have any counter reaction towards your panelist, you'll be able to answer it within your allocated 3 minutes. I hope that is very clear.
Very clear.
Yeah. All right, great. Let's get right into it. Before we get into our topic for today, the women inclusion in the new dawn. Today is international day of the girl child, and which is being celebrated under the theme Digital Generation, Our Generation. Now, what is your word to the young women who are trying to position themselves the way you are positioned, women of influence, all right, trying to look up to you? What is your word to the young girl out there? I'll start with you, Madam Cindy Kauka, the UPND National Youth Vice Chairperson.
Thank you so much. I think the young women must at all costs have confidence in themselves. The first thing is confidence. After confidence, you need to get the knowledge. Knowledge, then there's also wisdom. So as young women, we start from very early stages to be leaders. We start from very early stages to get into leadership slowly. So I would encourage those young women who would want to position themselves to start now, to start as early as maybe 14, 15 years. They should know exactly what they want to do for their country, for their people, and maybe for their families. Thank you.
All right. Of course, just an addition on that. Do you believe that the young women now, and emphasis on young women, are being given the chance to really develop themselves personally?
Wow. I can say that in the first place, maybe years back, not really too long ago, the young women were not really given space, because sometimes I think the men, young men, were given more chance, maybe to have maybe a lot of things and so on. They had more opportunities. But I want to believe that in this new dawn government, with our able president, Hakainde Hichilema, we shall have a lot of opportunities. We can look at maybe the way my president has done his appointments. We have a woman Speaker of the National Assembly and her deputy. We have a Minister for Community Development. We have the Vice President, who is a woman.
We'll get into that, Madam Kauka.
Thank you.
I just wanted to specifically look at the young women and how they can personally develop themselves in this particular environment.
Well, young women can personally develop themselves by, I've already said, having confidence in themselves. Yeah, so they must not look down upon themselves. God helps those who help themselves. What we have to do is we look at ourselves as equal as the men. We look at ourselves as equal as the young guys. From there, we build that confidence, and then we must have a vision of our own lives. As young women, the young women should have a vision. They must have a plan for their lives. So I think they must also avoid what is there now. There's a trend that is there now for young women are out there in the bars, they are drinking, they are doing all sorts of illicit activities. Yeah. So we must avoid that.
All right.
So,
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, we'll get back to you with regards to our topic. Let me throw it to you, Madam Janet Namute. Same question with you. Today is International Day of a Girl Child, and under the theme Digital Generation, Our Generation. All right, what is your words to the young people who should position themselves in this particular digital environment or digital generation to take up leadership?
Okay, first of all, I like the theme already because it's talking about digital generation. We're trying to move from the usual way of doing things and now also including the digital aspect of it. So I love the fact that it's in the theme, meaning we are working towards it, because that has been one of the challenges we've had, because many are the times where people in rural areas are able to access certain things because they do not have the digital platform itself. So back to your question that you had mentioned, what can we do for women to set themselves up? So I think the first thing that we need to do, I think like she had already mentioned, we need to set ourselves up personally as women. And by setting ourselves up, we're talking about attending an education, which is the first thing. As you can see in the new government, it's mostly relied on merit. So if you do not have the merit, even if you are as experienced as ever, the appointments are still coming on merit. So just looking at that, I think we need to fall back on the fact that we need to set ourselves in regards to our education aspect. What are we doing towards education? And I think I like the point that she had mentioned that long gone are the days where women were sidelined, where women were not educated. But now, as we can see, we're seeing a lot of women being educated, girls being given equal opportunities with guys as well. So I think it starts from setting yourself up in regards to education.
All right. Let's quickly get to the topic because time is really running and we need to exhaust the topic to its fullest. Our topic for today is women inclusion in the new Dawn government, and of course there's been a public outcry on the low percentage of appointments of women in the new Dawn, despite having been promised by the current government that women will be treated as a priority and those shall definitely participate in decision-making spaces. Now, currently, as we stand, 4 females have been appointed to cabinet against 10 males. 1 female has been appointed as a provincial minister against 9 females. Can we safely blame the new Dawn government for segregating the women? I'll start with you, Madam Kauka.
Yeah, thank you so much. You know, coming from a political point of view, I would say that there are so many appointments still coming forth. We've only seen about 5% of appointments because women cannot just be appointed in government. They cannot just be appointed in cabinet, and they cannot just be appointed as ministers. We still have PSs who are still coming. We still have DCs, they are still coming. So I'm sure our president will fulfill his promise of wanting to include more women in those other positions that are remaining. And I think looking at the way he has appointed, I'm not worried as a woman. I think I've got a lot of confidence in our president that is going to look up to the women for anything, because us women, when we stand out to do something, we really make sure that it works out in the best way, and the president is aware.
Madam Kauka, don't you think these positions so far being appointed are very cardinal?
Wow, they are. They are very cardinal. And in as much as they are cardinal, in my own point of view, I feel the women that have been appointed in the cabinet are more than enough, because president only has...
We have 4 females in the cabinet.
Yeah, we have 4. Isn't that good enough? Because they've got powerful... The women have got powerful positions. Yeah, there's a vice president who is a woman. We have the Speaker of the National Assembly who is a woman. Her deputy is a woman. We have, I think, the deputy whip in the...
Now, Madam Kauka, 4 against 20 really. 4 females against 20 males in cabinet.
Like I have said, I think we have only realized 5% of appointments. More appointments are still coming. And I think we are going to flood our women in all these appointments that are still coming.
Well,
yeah. We can only complain after the other appointments if it's not balancing up with the women. Maybe.
All right. Now, there's a public outcry by society saying, well, we know that there are many more positions coming forth, but the UPND government should have been deliberate by firstly appointing the females. Regardless of the number that they have appointed now, they would have firstly appointed the females to show that they are really concerned on the gender disparity that is there. Don't you think that is also true?
I think so. I think that is very true. And I think that must be corrected in the other positions, like I mentioned earlier. Yeah. Sometimes you might overlook not really like it's being done because our women are being sidelined or something. I don't think so. I don't think we are being sidelined. I think we still have the chance. If we were done, if the president was done with the appointments, I could have, you know, even where I am here.
But so far, are we safely blaming the party that you represent? Can we safely blame them for not prioritizing the women?
Well, not really. Not really, because they are not yet done.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, let's get to you, Madam Janet Namute, women in government. And I saw you reacting so much to her. The UPND National Youth Vice Chairperson, Cindy Kauka, on her reactions. Quickly, your 3 minutes starts now. Same question with you. Could we blame the new Dawn government with regards to not prioritizing women in decision-making spaces?
Okay, thank you very much for the opportunity. At least we've been given a chance to air out exactly what we feel as women and as young people.
Yeah.
So first of all, I want to stress my disappointment in regards to how many women have been appointed so far. And also point out the fact that cabinet is one of the largest, or should I say the majority of who makes decisions and in which particular manner in this country, because even for a budget to be accepted, it has to go through the cabinet. For us to be able to borrow money, it has to go through the cabinet itself. Even for most critical decisions, it has to be made by cabinet.
Yeah.
So looking at only a few women, let me say this is not even 3/3 of the cabinet that are women, and we're talking about only 4 women. To me, it is very, very disappointing and unfair to some extent, and especially when you look at these particular ministries that have been given to the women. This is one of the cries that we had even before the elections as we were pushing the women agenda. Not that we do not appreciate certain ministries, but we wanted to be given certain ministries that of course are not too feminine, because even when you look at these particular ministers, we have the Ministry of Community Development, which has been given to a woman. We have the Ministry of Labor, which has been given, the Ministry of Information. The only high-profile ministry I would recommend, obviously, is the Ministry of Health, where we have Honorable Silva Marcel. That is a very good thing, and I think it's development in a certain area. Not only with the cabinet, I would recommend the new government, even for appointing, we have our first speaker of the National Assembly, and she's female. We also have other appointments that have come in that are also inclined to women. But what we are very disappointed, or what we are contradicting to, is having 4 out of 25 members of the cabinet.
4 out of 25.
Exactly.
So which means 20 males, 4 females.
Yes,
actually.
because already it already shows that women have been less powered in regards to decisions that have to do with cabinet related.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So Madam Kauka says let's give them time. Should we give them time, or already they've disappointed as with regards to women inclusion?
Well, like I mentioned before, I look at cabinet as one of the biggest decision bodies that we ever have, or we will ever have as a country. Not disputing the fact that we'll definitely be given other appointments in government, but what we needed was an inclusion even in appointments in regards to the cabinet, because even the constitution itself provides for it. It provides that women should be included, apart from, in fact, it's specified to the marginalized community, which is women being part of that particular community. So for me, I feel they should have at least considered the women aspect, and not only the women aspect. I know I'm moving far from...
Yeah, so safely we are blaming the UPND government as of now with regards to you. All right, let me welcome my third guest. Thank you so much for joining us, Wana Samakesa, the gender and youth activist. Let's get right into it. There's been a public outcry on the low percentage of appointments of women in the new dawn, despite having been promised that women will equally be equally participate in the decision-making spaces. Currently, like I mentioned, the statistics are that we do have 4 females in cabinet, 20 males in cabinet as well, 1 male being appointed provincial minister against 9 males. All right, and the percentage in with regards to parliament is that we have 85.4% of males, and females are at 14.6%. All right, realizing that UPND is obviously majority in parliament, they have 55.5%. Now, do we blame the UPND with the segregation of women inclusion?
Well, truth be told, that is a very mammoth margin. If you look at the numbers of men that are in parliament and the numbers of women that are in parliament, like you said, 14.6%, that is very low. And that is something that we need to keep working towards. So looking at the UPND government, there's so much that's in their manifesto about women inclusion, the youth inclusion, and also persons with disabilities. And I personally feel it might be too early to judge them, but it's also not too early to hold them accountable, because there's so much that they have to do. There's so much work that they have to carry out. If they're going to talk about them giving these women access to land, access to different opportunities, then the work begins now. This issue of having this number of people in parliament, this number of people in these other spaces, that could not entirely be their fault, because at the end of the day, there's also an issue of women wanting to participate in certain areas. I'll give an example of Northwestern Province. Women would want to participate, but there's a very small number of people that actually want to offer themselves out there and do the work. And if the UPND government is committed to supporting these people, it becomes easier for them to reach out to such women so that they're empowered enough to also voice out, because that is what they promised in their manifesto.
Well, yeah, so entirely you're not blaming the UPND for you?
Not entirely.
Not entirely.
I think everybody has a share of blame, and that includes the people themselves. So, you know, the UPND has this task ahead of them, and the people as well also have a part to play, because as women we'll keep crying out about women empowerment and being included in certain spaces, and that is a good thing, and I support that 100%. But when it comes to places that are rural, like these other provinces, okay, I'll give an example of Northwestern Province, it is very disappointing that there are very low numbers of women that want to participate. I'll give an example of the previous elections. In Mwinilunga, we only had one woman who contested as member of parliament.
And no, maybe the adoption process wasn't favoring them. Clearly in UPND they adopted more males than females.
Well,
as well, yeah.
Well, actually, there were a lot of people that were adopted in the UPND. We carried out a research on how many women were adopted in these political parties, but then we realized that only a handful of women were adopted in most political parties, and yes, that includes the UPND, but also it bordered on the fact that the women did not want to take part, because they're still struggling with knowing whether there is space for them, but you don't have to wait for that space to be created for you. You have to be bold enough to take it.
All right. Yeah. Madam Kauka, do you have any reaction to that?
Yeah.
Especially to Janet, who Janet.
Well, I'll start from her point.
All right, quickly.
Yeah, their point of adoption, because you find that the time that the previous government was in power, there was a lot of dishing out of money. So most of our women were not empowered with cash. So very few had to contest. And the adoption process was fairly done according to the numbers of the people who participated and the candidates who were able to win the seats. So when you look at the number of women who are in parliament, there are very few. So even appointments, I think the president had to balance up from that perspective, looking at the number of men, looking at the number of women.
No, did he only look at the number of women in UPND? Because government should actually be equally distributed, regardless of you being in pair for UPND. Yeah, did he just look at UPND as the females who were, you know, who were in UPND and only appointed those?
He looked at all the sides. He looked at all the sides.
Well,
but
there's no one from PF that has been appointed.
But did we have somebody from UPND who was appointed in PF?
Should you fight fire with fire?
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No. It's not like that.
Yeah.
But you know, we want a clean government. We've had corrupt ministers, so we could not appoint from the same corrupt system. Thank you.
All right. Any counter reaction?
I would like
Yes.
Yes. All right. So let's quickly get to Janet. and Janet Namute, and then we go to Wana Samakesa. Quickly, please. Yeah.
Okay, yes. Just the aspect of appointments. Actually, it was looking at the previous elections where we had women appointed, or women actually adopted. This year had actually, I was impressed with every political party that actually included women, and the fact that most of the political parties even had female vice presidents, that was a plus for me. And I think the people that we somehow have to blame are us people ourselves, because I think we noted a gap in the fact that you will find women contesting, but us as the people are unable to trust to appoint women in this particular position. So I think that's where the problem comes in. However, that problem was only on basing it on the fact that these people are not elected. But now that we have appointments, I feel the UPND, as much as it is early, I think when we talk about the cabinet, it should have been a more of a balanced equation. And yes, most of the females are unable to come out in the open to take or to put themselves up to be able to get appointed. But I mean, people, we still have other people. We have people, the renowned counsel, Linda Kasonde, who is out there, who I was hoping to get appointed in any ministry, actually, because those are some of the women that we actually look up to, who have a good reputation, who have merits on their papers, I should say. But these are the people that we have not yet seen being appointed. I want to comfort myself in thinking she will be appointed sooner or later, but that is not the only woman that has come out. There are other women that have also come out as well.
Don't you think she suits best in that particular position where she gives checks and balances and not being part of government? Yeah.
Sometimes it's better to have certain people to have checks and balances, and they are also in other aspects, especially the fact that there are a few women that are coming out in the open, putting themselves up. And I think once we identify certain people such as those, we need to put them into certain positions or decision-making positions. So I think that's my take on that one.
All right, quickly, Wana Samakesa, your quick reaction to what has been said so far.
Okay, so I strongly believe it's never really an issue of wanting to choose which female qualifies to be in a certain political party. So on that one, I would actually beg to differ with the UPND for saying, because these people were a bit compromised and they were in another government and all that, a woman should still be given an opportunity regardless of which political party she belongs to. And if somebody is credible enough and somebody actually shows actual leadership skills, that will enhance a lot of development for not only older women but young women and youth as well, that is something that should be welcomed by the government. So we should leave that notion of saying this person is in the opposition so we cannot appoint this person to do this and that, because that is the same kind of thinking that kept us in one place. And also, I would like to react to the comment on having a woman being there to just give checks and balances. I believe that's a good position. I believe she can do that very well. But, you know, there's so much ability that she has. And if she's given that chance to break beyond borders, it becomes easier for her to lead, because then she's at the forefront. But if she keeps doing the checks and balances, where is that platform that she's actually going to use to unleash that potential and power that she has?
All right, thank you so much, ladies, for that particular session. Let's quickly get to my third question for tonight. What are the attributes that could have led the low women representation in decision-making spaces, and how do we deal with such a predicament? So let's quickly start from the aspect of the adoption process all throughout the appointments by Bali, the 7th president of Zambia. Quickly, let me start with you, Wana Samakesa, then we get to Cindy Kauka, then we get to Janet Namute.
Okay, I think most of it has been touched.
Yeah.
Because one thing that I strongly believe has led to the low numbers of women participation in most of this governance position is the fact that the women are not really being supported by the people out there. And we, the people, do not trust a woman enough to give her that position of power. And because of that, we've had women who are able, who actually voice out, who speak out, who want to do these jobs, but then because people do not trust them enough to hand them that power, as people would say, instruments of power, right? So to give them that power to actually take lead, it becomes very challenging. And then also, in as much as we would say things have begun to change, we've seen a lot of change in places like Lusaka, in the Copper Belt, but there are rural areas where women still feel belittled, and because of that they are unable to take up these positions. So it becomes very difficult for people to believe in somebody who does not believe in themselves. So those, I think, stand out in the issue of women wanting to participate, because there are women out there who can do it, there are women out there who are afraid to do it. And so if those things are worked towards, it becomes easier for them to take part.
How do we deal with all this that you've mentioned?
Okay.
Yeah.
So, you know how we always want to preserve culture. So for the women that feel belittled, I think it all stems from our cultural roots. It becomes difficult for somebody who's grown up being told they're not good enough to instantly begin to believe in themselves. So it's easier if we deal with those cultural barriers. And that's why I really applaud a lot of organizations that are reaching out to these rural areas and trying to redefine the norm for women, because they want to tell women they're more than what they think they are. They could do more and things like that. And I think for the issue of women just being out there pushing beyond barriers and people are not supporting them, it also calls for a lot of awareness in most of these areas, because you know there's some reaction that comes towards change and people are not always welcoming. Yeah. So it becomes very difficult, and if we keep preaching that message out there, it becomes easier for people to begin to believe in women, and they'll begin to support them. It's a very long route, but would have to take it either way.
Cindy Kauka.
Yeah, in the first place, I want to agree with her that most of the times, us women maybe do not have that courage to do what we are supposed to do. So this is the reason why from the beginning we have said, let a girl child start being trained in the early stages to have the courage and to believe in themselves. A lot of women out there are capable of doing a lot of things, but because they have not believed in themselves, because they don't have the courage, because of the fear, they have not managed to stand up and contest these MP-ship and whatever seats that are supposed to be contested by the women as well. So I want to mention that the New Deal government, the New Dawn government, has put in place a portion for the women where they will be attending workshops mostly, where they will be doing a lot of trainings. So we'll have a lot of our women in the structures moving into the rural areas to go and talk to our women, to pick up themselves and have that courage to stand up and be counted. Yeah.
So is that the only solution that you're providing to this particular?
There are so many solutions.
Yeah, let's break them down.
There are so many solutions, like workshops is one of them. That is number one. Empowerment. Like we have already said, maybe that some women were not appointed in these other positions, and maybe in the positions to come, they will not be appointed according maybe to their qualifications, because this government, I think, it's so particular in the issue of having qualifications. Academic records are very, very important in this government. So there will be other women who are able to do something. They will be empowered, and they will have that courage in them, and they will have that confidence in themselves.
What type of empowerment? Is it the same empowerment we saw in the previous regime?
Wow, not really.
Yeah.
Not really. One, we have started with forming cooperatives for the women. In as much as we had cooperatives in these previous governments, we have a special empowerment for the women, a special location.
Because already in the previous regime, over 80 million was lost to empowerment. How are you going to handle the issue of accountability?
Wow, you know, even looking at the way the president is taking his time in appointing, he wants to appoint people who are going to deliver. Because what was happening was, as a minister, I will get empowerment for the women. It does not trickle down. It trickles down to my home. It trickles down to my own pocket. So this is the reason why women were not empowered. So we need to spot out the mistakes that were made previously. Then we work on them. We go down to our people talk to them, let them tell us what to do. And I think this is the way our president wants to run. And this is the way the women want to be run. They want to be asked what they are able to do. They want to be asked what they want. So there will be people going on the ground, forming cooperatives, asking what the women want to do. Then the funds should go direct to the account of the cooperative.
So workshops, empowerment, what else?
Workshops, empowerment, job empowerment, of course, employment empowerment will be there for most of our women.
All right.
Yeah.
We hope to see that. It's just very, very soon. We used to see 2021 very far, but now, hey, we've chosen the new Dawn government, and we hope that you will deliver within the stipulated time that has been given to you. Janet Namute, same question with you with regards to the cause of the low appointments or low participation of women in decision-making spaces, and how do we deal with such a predicament?
Okay. First of all, the problems that caused to have few women actually elected, and also what is causing the low turnout of women. First of all, it's the financial aspect. That one we cannot run away from. You'll find political parties or donors are able to finance a male as compared to a woman, which in itself is something that we need to work on. And apart from that, we also had the customs themselves, which have been a huge barrier for some time now, because I mean we come from homes where our parents used to tell us that women only belong to the kitchen, and when you are seen to be on a political side, you'll be considered, for lack of a better term, a political prostitute. Exactly. Or if not that, maybe probably you're looking for attention, which is mostly not the case. So I think those are some of the problems that we had. And some of the problems that we are still, or that I have noticed that are still being carried on, is the notion of putting women in a certain particular position. For me, if there was appointments, or if they have to be appointments for ministers, I would love to see, let's say, the Minister of Justice being a female, or these high-profile ministries being led by females, unlike the usual norm of saying community development belongs to women, gender belongs to women. I think if we move from that stage, it will actually even empower more women to look up to certain ministries. And the solution that we can provide as well, not only is the government the only person or the only body that has to provide a solution, if I may say, but we have other institutions, we have NGOs as well. And I would love to recommend Young Women in Action. And it's a good thing I've been given this opportunity, because we are also pushing the agenda of the Women Manifesto. We have a Women Manifesto which has been done, or we conducted the research and looked at what exactly do women want. Do women want empowerment? Because it would be pointless if we say we're going to give the youth empowerment and they do not know what to do with that financial empowerment. So when you actually read through this Women Manifesto, you would actually notice that actually what we want as young people are jobs. Apart from only being given money, sometimes you might not even know what kind of business you want, which will lead, or which had actually even led to a lot of misuse of funds in the previous government, and which we do not want now. So what we want are jobs. And the good thing is that with this particular manifesto, most of the political parties were signatories to it, which means they had agreed and it's legally binding. So for me, that is the starting point where us women can start from, because the current government has signed to it, which means they are bound by what are the contents of this particular manifesto. And one of them is the inclusion of women not only in female-related ministries, but also in ministries that hold high profile. And apart from that, we also want a demand of jobs, because this is exactly what their manifesto promised, and this is what they had signed to as well. I would love to recommend the president, because he's making his appointments on merit, which is something we haven't seen with our previous governments that have been there, which is a good thing. It's a light at the end of the tunnel. But apart from only seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, we need to ensure that we still provide checks and balances, because the government has signed to certain treaties. Not only that, we have the UPR as well, which the government is part of. Right. It doesn't mean when a government comes in new, or we have a new government, that means we throw away everything else that was signed. Right. with other governments as well.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
0764250055 is a number that you can call in now and be able to ask your question, your comment, or your contribution towards our topic for this particular evening. Women inclusion in the new dawn is what we're talking about. 0764250055, 0764250055. Call in and be able to talk to Cindy Kauka, the UPND National Youth Vice Chairperson. We have Wana Samakesa, the gender and youth activist, as well as Janet Namute, women in governance activist as well. Our topic is women inclusion in the new dawn, and the number is 0764250055. Our first caller. Hello, good evening. Hello, good evening. Yes, please turn down the volume on your TV set. All right, please, when you call in, make sure that you turn down the volume on your TV set. We get terrible feedback in the studio. Hello, good evening. Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
Yes, how are you doing?
Very well, thank you.
All right, who are we talking to and where are you calling from?
I'm Shambo from Joma.
All right, please give us your quick comment, your contribution, and your question within a minute.
Yeah, my contribution is that,
Hello? Hello? All right, seems we've lost that call.
proceed.
Oh, yes, you're saying?
Hello?
Yes, please, just repeat your question.
It's not a question.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just contributing that in support with the other lady.
Which one is that one?
The lady who is in the middle.
All right, the UPND National Vice Chairperson, yes?
Yes, that, these things are done gradually. And you don't just do things at a supersonic speed. And these women, it's very important that they are appointed and they are positioned. Positioning the lady does not mean only ministerial, no. But when you give them more certain responsibilities, even in the departments, in projects outside the country, that also is part of empowering the women.
All right.
It does not mean that if the cabinet has only less women, then the women are not empowered. No.
All right. Thank you so much. We appreciate your comment.
Thank you.
All right. 0764250055, 0764250055. Call us and be able to add your thoughts, your contribution, or your question towards the panelists this particular evening. Hello, good evening. Hello, good evening. Hello, good evening.
Good evening, too. How are you, sir?
I'm very good, thanks. How are you doing?
I'm doing great.
All right. Will you tell us your name and where you're calling from?
I am Evangelist Carlotti from Florida.
All right. Please give us your quick comment, contribution, or question.
Yeah, I am a staunch supporter of the UPND, but I feel that when it comes to the appointment of women, our president hasn't done much. And also the appointment of people living with disabilities. So we are hoping that in the next appointment, we'll be able to stand up to these promises. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much for that quick comment. All right. My last call for this evening, 0764 250055, 0764 250055. Give us your call and, of course, give us your comment or your question with regards to the topic that we have this particular evening. 0764 250055. Hello, good evening.
Hello, evening.
I'm good, thanks. Who are we talking to and where are you calling from?
This is Chibwe, calling from Minitonga.
All right. Please give us your quick comment or question.
Okay, I had a question.
Yes,
Okay,
please
so
go
my
on.
question goes
Yeah.
out to the women. This talk of inclusion and all of that, don't you think in the long run it's going to cause a gender imbalance between the men and the women? The same imbalance that is currently
All right. Is that so?
Yes.
All right. Thank you so much. You said your name is?
Chibwe.
Oh, okay. Right, Chiwe. Thank you so much, Chiwe, for that one. We appreciate your question.
Okay.
All right. All right, ladies. I'm pretty sure you had those comments and questions.
Yes.
Yes. The last one being very interesting, and I would love to look forward to how you answer it. Let me start with. All right. So you'll be able to answer or respond to all the 3 comments that have come through so far within your 3 minutes. Let me start with Janet Namute. Quickly, so they're saying no, these things are done gradually. Do you agree to that?
Yes, definitely. I agree to the fact that appointments are coming with time. I think, like we mentioned, he's looking at how credible somebody is and appointments on merit. That we do not dispute. And I think we're still recommending the president for actually still including women. But look, the focal point of it all is cabinet is the highest decision making in a government. And I feel if we do have an inclusion of women, and not only being given female-like ministries, but also ministries that are held with high profile, it will definitely incline on the fact of inclusion of women in this particular position.
All right. The other point was the low appointment of women and people living with disabilities has been a concern from one of the callers. Your reaction?
Yes. And I think, like she had mentioned as well, we haven't seen any people with disabilities being appointed. Obviously, we know that even the people with disabilities do have certain qualifications that we cannot take away from them. And I think, like I had mentioned before, the Constitution itself, being the highest law of the land, gives a provision that the marginalized should be included in appointment. This is embedded in the Constitution, and obviously everything that is embedded in the Constitution is binding on the government. So which shows or which indicates that women and also people with disabilities should also be regarded in regards to these particular appointments. And with the last comment.
Yeah, the last comment was that do you think this particular fight will cause an imbalance later on as time goes by?
I actually like that question because in most cases, even when we are advocating for women, we do not only advocate for women alone, but we also advocate for the boy child as well. But we are yet to get to a level where we feel women have at least gotten a certain percentage of representation. Because as you can see with the statistics, we are at 14.6. while the male has 85.4, which is a huge gap. So for now, we are definitely pushing the women's agenda forward to a certain extent. But even as we're pushing this particular agenda, we still have the inclusion of the male child. Let me give an example. Even now, in regards to gender-based violence, not only women are facing gender-based violence, not only women are being raped, but also men are being raped. So not only are we pushing the agenda in regards to the governance aspect, but in all aspects, especially when you talk about the SDGs, which are inclusive of both the males and the female.
All right. Well, that is not being done really on the ground in most cases. Mostly the attention is given to the girl child, and most of these projects are heavily funded actually. Yeah.
Probably in most cases, I think it all goes back to the statistics that we have. It's because there is so much gap between the male and the female side, and I think that's why we're having so much emphasis on educating, not only educating, but also on sensitizing the community on the importance of inclusiveness of women
genders
as well. Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you so much. Let me get to you, Cindy Kauka. The first one was this should be done gradually, the appointment of women and also giving checks and balances as well. Do you agree to that one?
Yeah, I agree to it. First of all, I said we must be able to impart courage in our women. So we are just beginning. Our women never used to participate. So we are just beginning. And as beginners, I should say that I'm very happy with the president because he has done it. He has given us the chance, but he must give us more chance, and I know that he's going to give us more chance in the remaining positions.
And if this doesn't happen, should we call you back on blunt talk?
Exactly.
And now entirely blame your government, the one that is ruling, with regards to not including the women?
No problem, because I'm very much confident. I know how these appointments are going I'm very much confident, and I know that the president is aware that the women fought so hard for him to be where he is. He's aware that the women turned out in numbers to go and vote with the youths. And maybe according to what she has said, to say there is, maybe you can give youth empowerment to the youths when they don't know what to do with that empowerment. We are looking into that program. We have a youth symposium on the 18th of August. I would love you guys to join me at Radisson Blue. We are going to train our youths.
Of August or October?
I mean November, 18th November, yeah. I'm used to August.
Oh, yeah.
You know, the campaigns, we went, yeah. So we are going to have a program where we are going to have businessmen coming in, where we are going to have the corporate world, all those guys. They'll be talking to our youths, because sometimes you talk about empowerment, maybe women empowerment, youth empowerment. People do not even know where to start from.
Yes.
You can give them that empowerment. They do not know even what to do. So what we have to do is we start slowly training our youths, training our women. We tell them what should be done at a certain time. We tell them how to register for a company, how to form a cooperative. Then we put them into the projects. So we'll have this program for the youths. We are beginning with the youths on the 18th.
All right. Well, the other concern was people living with disabilities.
Yeah, I think that concern should be my concern as well, because I have not seen any in Parliament. And I feel much should be done, because people with disabilities participated in the candidature of MPship and council chairmanship and other seats. So they participated, though they didn't maybe qualify because of maybe distances of campaigning. Maybe they would go into far places where they could not touch and people do not know them. So we could not adopt them.
What are you doing in your party structures to enhance this?
As in our party structures, we have already identified the persons living with disabilities. So we have at least gotten their CVs and we have submitted their CVs. In my department, the National Youth.
Submitted to who?
We have submitted to the government. Yeah. So in my department, we've got a youth called Chipo. She's living with the disabilities. We have given her a job. She's the one who is working in the office, and we hope to give her more, and we hope that the government will also pick her to go and work for a better salary. Yeah.
All right. There's a concern of women inclusion causing gender imbalance in the near future. Do you agree to this?
Wow. I'm not really agreeing, because I'm seeing some improvement on it. I'm seeing some improvement on women participation in everything that is being done, in the NGOs, in government. It's not only government where women can participate. They can participate in different organizations. Yeah. And I've seen a lot of improvement in the participation.
Also, the caller meant in a way that, you know, as we fight for women inclusion, at a certain extent, there'll be now more women you know, in these particular decision-making spaces than men. And again, we'll start, you know, campaigning for
male inclusion.
Wow. I think by that time, when we are going to be flooded with a lot of women who are able, I think we'll still have the able president who can still balance up the women and the men.
Well, that is if we will definitely get to that level by 2026.
But the way I'm looking at things, we are moving in very quickly. The way I'm looking at things, we never had women participating in these maybe high positions in political parties and other places. I'm a vice chairperson and I'm called a vice chairman. in my political party.
But again,
so we are moving at a faster level.
Cindy Kauka, the main concern also is that should women only take up the positions for vice? Why can't women take up the positions for chairperson, for president, for the top leadership? Because we're still not dealing with the problem if we put the women as second choice from the men.
Yeah, but there's always a starting point.
Yeah.
There's always a starting point. Like we have said, it's gradual. So we have started as vices. So in the next years to come, we'll be on top.
Well, we hope to really get to that level, because even just in the previous elections, we had 16 candidates. And out of the most of them, majority had female vice presidents, and because of the trend that was there even in the previous elections, and one female president who had less votes compared to most of the candidates in the previous elections.
Yeah, it's because, to begin with, we have said in the past years, people never really believed in us as women. We were maybe known to be people of the kitchen.
Yeah. But
at the moment,
you're being believed in now.
We are being believed in.
Yes.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Let me throw it to you, Wana Samakesa, with regards to, let's start with the gender imbalance with women inclusion and men inclusion as well. Do you believe the women inclusion at some extent will cause gender imbalance in the near future?
I think if we begin to think in those lines, it becomes very dangerous, because the men will be resistant to including women. It should, that whole idea, exactly, that whole idea of saying, let us include this woman. It shouldn't just be one of those things you hand out to the woman. It's something that she's born with, the right that she's born with, to take part in most of these things. And I believe if we go about this the right way, we're fighting for women to be included. We're fighting for women to have a seat at the table. We're not fighting to kick the man out. We're just saying, give us an equal space with what you have. We want to see a future where there's an equal balance of male and female, where we are able to work together towards achieving certain goals and not seeing women as vices. We'd like to see a time when we have a female president and we have a male vice president. Those are the things we're looking forward to. So when we talk about inclusion for the women, when we talk about gender equality, we just want to have a leveled ground to fight and achieve many things and also bring about development in our country. So no, we're not taking the men out.
All right. Issues of not including people with disabilities?
That is something that is very close to my heart, because I believe each one of us is a suspect for disability. And we should come to that whole notion of thinking, persons with disability, you term people, this one has a disability and stuff like that, should really come to an end, because there are women who have disabilities, there are men who have disabilities, there are youths who have disabilities. So if you talk about having women in these spaces, we're also talking about people with disabilities having these spaces. There's actually, with every company that employs a person with disability, they get tax returns. But because people have not really focused and paid attention into things like that, they do not really know that these people need to be included and these people need to actually be employed. And also with the president, I would really like to ask him, or just bring it to his attention, that he really needs to include people with disabilities, because many other times they've been left out. Many other times they have had the qualifications, they have been there, they have been at the forefront. One person living with disability, I think is well known, Mr. Mtonga, was contesting for a parliamentary seat. And that is something we want to see going forward. And that is something we want to see as we move into the new Zambia that we're yet to have, that people keep talking about. So let us include women with disabilities, let us include people with disabilities, because they're just us.
Checks and balances being done gradually, do you agree?
On that one, I believe, yes, change is gradual, but then we also have to keep an eye out for that. In as much as we want things to be done at a slow pace, we should also ensure that even as those things are being done, what is happening in the background. So I heard talks about empowering the youth and things like that. We can't wait for everybody to be appointed to reach a level where we believe that youths need to be empowered now. Because in certain places, there's agriculture empowerment that needs to happen. And not everybody needs that money, as I heard my fellow speaker say. They just need that push, that training, that skill to be able to make something of themselves. And that is what the youths need. So in as much as we are waiting for these things to happen, let's also just work towards empowering the youths in those regards.
All right, for this last series of questions, I'll ask you that you answer it within 30 seconds. Okay. I'm already out of time, so as quickly as possible, please. The first question is a yes or no answer. All right, is there hope for women inclusion? The second question is your submission to the new current government. Quickly, 30 seconds, Samakesa.
Yes, there is absolutely high hopes for women inclusion, and my submission to the new government is just do not relent in the work towards including women and persons with disabilities and the youth, because they have been sidelined for a long time, and we want to see most of them take up positions. So encourage these small organizations and these other organizations working in these places to carry out the works they are doing, because they're doing a splendid job.
Thank you. Cindy Kauka.
Yes.
Is there hope for inclusion?
Yes, please. The submission to the government is that in as much as we are fighting for us women to have equal representation, we also have to fight for the youths to be included in all the appointments. The youths must also be included in all activities. And they must start now, because if we wait for the youths to grow up, then we'll have no leader. Because we need to start appointing them now so that they grow up in leadership.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you. Janet Namute.
Yes, definitely there is a bright future for women appointments. And my submission to the government, looking at the theme that we have, a digital generation. So as much as we're including the women, as much as we're including the disabled people, let's also consider people in the rural areas who are unable to have access to the privileges that we have, such as these projects that the new government is bringing, these empowerments. Let them also extend to the rural areas, because I feel a centralized government does not work.
All right, thank you so much. Janet Namute, Women in Governance activist, Cindy Kauka, the UPND National Youth Vice Chairperson, Wana Samakesa, the Gender and Youth Activist, who are my guests for this particular evening of Blunt Talk. My name is Chola Chisha. We are back next week, same time, same place. Good evening.